Welcome back to They Call Me Uncle.
Today's panel, a war of the worlds.
Not Battle of the Planets, completely different thing.
Show me what you got.
My introduction to War of the Worlds came in the late 60s, early 70s. In elementary school or junior high, they had this program where they would let you order books.
Oh, the
Like
Scholastic
Scholastics.
Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
There
those.
you go.
Yeah.
You read like 50 small books and you get like a pizza this big at Pizza Hut.
Well, there was no reward.
I was terrible at reading.
So one of the books
Deprived.
I ordered was War of the Worlds, which I read and really enjoyed. Now, I didn't know at the time that there was a movie. I didn't know much about it. I just knew that I liked H.G. Wells. It took place in turn-of-the-century England, and these aliens from Mars come down, and they are here to conquer the Earth, and I think actually use people as food.
Yes.
What you're looking at, these are two Martian war machines that my son James printed for me on his 3D printer.
And I put them on wires.
Yeah.
You okay, Kevin? Those barely stay on.
Oh.
Seeing the movie and reading this novel inspired me to be interested in stop motion and special effects. I storyboarded out the scene I wanted to see. It had no dialogue. It was just tanks and war machines going at it. Because
You'll see at the end what we're laughing about.
Well, yeah, stay through the whole video because what you saw at the beginning was my vision for what I wanted to see. What you see at the end is what these two did.
Our vision.
Everything else.
Everything.
Oh, hand of God, oh, help me, help me.
Dog, no!
It was amazing.
And did the giant cat make it in? That's what-
Oh, yes.
But
That's probably going to be in the intro. It's so good.
To him, he's a normal sized cat. Everything else is just tiny.
it was interesting because there's a couple things that they did different in the movies. So the movie I saw had tanks and these alien craft which hovered and had force fields. In the book, they didn't have tanks and the aliens had tripods.
Yeah.
But I watched a special on it, and I believe George Powell did the special effects. And at the time, stop motion hadn't really come into being as effective as it became later. And so an actual walking machine was deemed too hard and too costly. So that's where they came up with these.
Yeah, it looks
These-
cooler too, because the stop motion, like the whole world just stopping for a stop motion tripod and then going back to the movie, I think that would have been kind of awkward, so I'm glad they went with that instead.
And you could only barely see the strings.
Yeah.
Only in high definition.
Well, in
you
the
could
high
see.
def,
Yes.
you can see them really well.
Oh yeah, like a mass of them.
Now, this comic book here in front of us, this is an adaptation of the novel, and it stays pretty true to the book.
I do love when they adapt like classics into comic book form, because then I can say I've read them and not have to read them.
And the Martians from War of the Worlds show up in a number of comics, including Guardians of the Galaxy. And there's also a character that Marvel created called Killraven that we've mentioned in another video that comes directly from this novel. And so H.G. Wells' source material has been used quite a bit in comic books. So in preparation for this panel, the three of us sat down and watched 1953's War of the Worlds.
Woo! I've never seen it. And now I've seen it.
I have seen it, but it was so long ago, it was like brand new.
The thing I like the best is the alien war machines,
Oh,
the
yeah.
tanks, the battles. For that time, the special effects I thought were really good.
They were.
But like Mason pointed out, in high def, I never noticed the wires until watching it this last time.
Like a chandelier. Look at it.
I know. I had no idea.
But they're sweet.
It looks like one of those deals they put over pastries in a...
I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Even.
Like, they had these shields. Like a specimen jar, kind of.
Kinda, yeah.
So they had these bowls over these, and the alien war machines were really overwhelming because they could disintegrate anything. And then the aliens themselves, in the book, they're described as kind of squids with these tentacles. The comic book does a really good job of showing you kind of what the novel described. In the movie, they look... It's hard to explain.
They look like that game...
face,
you know.
Oh, Simon.
Yeah, they look like a game of Simon.
That's what their face looks
Like
like.
Simon Says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do have kind of little tentacles.
The tentacles, like this.
They do use these floating war machines because the tripods would be too expensive and too difficult to do special effects for.
Practical effects.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that was the thing.
Practical effects.
Back then there was no CGI, it was practical effects. And so those laser beams or those rays were probably painted onto the cells.
Probably.
To create the effect.
Somebody in effects knows how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so those were the parts of the movie I really remembered, is the battles between the Martians and the humans with their tanks and cannons. And I really enjoyed that. It was interesting because it takes place in the 50s. And so everybody's just kind of hanging out, watching.
Because, I mean, what else can you do with that, against that thing? Just...
Yeah. The turn of the century, we had even less technology. So the battle, although in the comic book and in the novel, they do manage to destroy a couple tripods, but usually it costs them everybody that was around at the time. They all get disintegrated. And reading the novel, watching the movie, the Martians are completely overwhelming the humans, and so you're looking at an enemy that's unstoppable. And how does it get stopped? Spoiler alert. Which is very timely because we're living in the pandemic, and it's viruses, and common cold is... You broke it. Common cold is what stops the aliens.
I could fix it.
Irony.
I don't know.
There was definitely some 5-star moments in it.
Indeed.
A lot of, I feel like, the action of these in the city, you know, these vaporizing those 3 people. It looked like a giant meatball.
It did.
Or like cookie, right?
Yeah, like a molten cookie just right out of the oven.
Yeah, it was really good.
Made me hungry.
I finished it. That was good because...
Which is, like, anything before, like, the 60s, you just peace out.
Well, that and the freaking Tom Cruise one scared me so bad
Oh,
when
man.
I was a child.
Me too.
I had to leave the theater because it was just too real for me.
I had to watch it in, like, halves.
Aliens freaked me out because it's something that you don't really know. It's the unknown aspect of it. You know, how do you fight aliens when they're a superior race? Or maybe you don't even know if they are.
And that version was so tense.
It was.
Yeah.
It was so tense. I left the theater.
Give you an anxiety attack, man.
And then I tried to watch it again, and I stopped watching it. So I've never finished it.
Oh.
Well,
Tom Cruise.
One of the things we're going to do...
Help me, Tom Cruise.
Help me, Tom Cruise! But how did he get down to his underwear that fast?
Is we're going to do a best of... We're going to do a lot of them, and one of them we'll do is War of the Worlds. Like I said, there have been multiple adaptations, so with our system we'll be able to compare the 1953 War of the Worlds with the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, and we'll get Mason through it in one piece.
Yes, we'll hold his hand.
I'm not afraid anymore.
I'm not afraid anymore!
That's from Donnie Darko. Oh, that kid wets the bed a lot.
Nice.
That's how rumors get started, Mace.
So what do you think of the movie, Carter?
What I like about War of the Worlds is that it's lasted such a long time that you can see how it would play out in different eras. Like, there's the Victorians with, like, their horse-drawn artillery cannons. then the 50s with their tanks and nukes, and then in modern times, modern-ish, like 2005, you get like a modern military still kind of sucking it up against these war machines, and I wonder if we're, as a species, ever going to get to the point where it's not believable.
Well, it's kind of like Independence Day, you know? It was the same kind of thing, but they had the virus that they had to put into their program from the
computer
mothership.
Virus, yeah.
You know, it's the force fields.
Like, the force fields weren't in the source novel, but that's because the threat of the aliens kept getting countered by an increasingly better military. So they needed something that would take them down, so the force fields came in the 53 movie, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where it came from, too. The first comic book adaptation that I could see was from 1955. And so they did one soon after the movie. But it was cool to see him brought to life. And I was fascinated with the special effects. And in the 50s, they did have green screen.
They had green screen and backdrops, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the backdrops for sure.
Yeah, but your sky has a wrinkle there.
So when we start talking about filming, the first thing I did was I storyboarded, what I wanted to see, and it really was really simple and should have taken a few minutes.
No.
But then these two got hold of the tanks.
Yeah, and like our inner 10-year-old just came right out.
Sherman!
Get a hold of yourself, Bulldog. What is it?
I heard a noise.
We didn't do the full stop motion thing.
Oh no.
Not yet.
We're not brave enough for that.
I still think one of these days you're going to see something out of us that is stop motion, because I've been fascinated with that.
Stop motion's awesome.
I don't know that I
Stop
really
motion's
have
hard.
the patience, but I do have an interest in it. Well, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe, or else. It's based on H.G. Wells' novel of the same name in 1897. I fucked that up.
Sherman, I heard a noise. It's frightening, Blue.
Is it frightening or just concerning, Bulldog? We've been over this.
Frightening.
Then we shall go.
Ah, there it is.
Someone find the giant laser pointer!
Sherman, what do we do?
Fire armor piercers!
Our defenses are useless. Run away.
Run away!
Sherman, you coward.